Hi everyone, I'm Sally.
I'm Anne-Marie.
And welcome to your ICE Assembly for this week. Well, this half term so far, we've been looking at some of the school values we've spotted on our travels around your schools. And we're going to be looking at another one this week. But I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're going to have a game, and I wonder if you can guess after the game. So the game we're playing is Two Truths and a Lie. And I've got three fictional characters who are going to come and tell you their truths and their lies. So there'll be two truths and one lie. And you need to try and find out what the lie is.
All right.
All right, so you playing in the classroom, and Anne-Marie, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's have our first character. Ooh. It is Winnie the Pooh. And here are the two truths and a lie. So, the first one is, my favourite game, Pooh Sticks, is played with making a tall tower of sticks. So, Pooh Sticks is played making a tall tower of sticks. Number two is, I once ate so much honey, I got stuck in my friend Rabbit's house. So, did he once eat so much honey, he got stuck in his rabbit's house, or is that a lie? And then finally, I spent a whole afternoon with my friend Piglet following my own footsteps around a tree. So did he spend a whole afternoon following his own footsteps around a tree? Have a guess, and we'll get back to you. All right, Anne-Marie, what do you think it is?
So I'm finding the lie.
There are two truths, one lie.
I think the first one is the one that is a lie.
Ooh,
I think Pooh Sticks is a slightly different game. Not making a big tower, but it's to do with a river, I believe.
You're absolutely right. Yes, that was the porcupine. Yes, Pooh Sticks is played with sticks going along a river, not making a tower. Well done. I wonder if you guessed correctly watching. Right, on to our next friend, and that is Pascal from Tangled. So here, listen out for the truths and the lie. So first of all, one, my best friend has the longest hair in the world. Okay. Two, I can turn all sorts of colours, sometimes all at once. Or three, I want to stay in Mother Gothel's cosy tower forever. So what do you think it is? Have a think, and we'll get back to you. All right, moment of truth.
Right, now I think the lie in there was about wanting to stay in Mother Gothel's tower forever and ever, because I remember this story pretty well.
Yes, Pascal actually really wants to leave, even more than Rapunzel does. Yeah. So good job, you found it. I wonder if you found it watching. And on to our last one. And this character is from a beautiful book called The Wind in the Willows. And it's Toad of Toad Hall. Okay, but can you spot the line? So, number one, I once dressed up as a washerwoman to escape from prison. Okay. Two, I always listen to my friends, Badger, Mole and Ratty. Or three, I think that motor cars are the most wonderful thing ever. Okay, have a think, and we'll get back to you. All right, time to guess.
All right, now I was a little bit worried about this one because I don't know the story as well as some of the others, but I do know that Toad is not that good at listening to his friends Badger and Ratty and Mole, so it's that one.
You're right, yes, and actually if you know the story, I think things would go a lot better for him if he did. Definitely. Yes! Well done, 3 out of 3, fantastic! I wonder how you watching did as well.
All right, well, there we go. I think that you might have been able to guess from today's game that Sally brought to us that today's value that we're looking at is going to be truthfulness, the one in the top at the corner there. And of course, we know that the Two Truths and a Lie game in this particular instance, we know our fluffy friends wouldn't really lie to us, would they? It's just a really good fun guessing game. But the character that we're going to be hearing about in today's story from the Bible wasn't so good at being truthful and actually had made a really big habit out of lying and cheating people as well. So I wonder what kind of person this is that we're going to hear about. Let's find out together as we look at today's story.
Zacchaeus was a very wealthy man. He was a very important man. And he was a very short man. He worked as a tax collector. But he wasn't an honest tax collector. In those days, people had to pay tax to the Romans, and it was a tax collector's job to go around and pick everyone's money up. But sometimes the tax collectors would lie and say that the tax cost more than it did. And then they would keep the money for themselves. As you can probably guess, tax collectors weren't very popular people. No one liked being lied to and cheated out of their money. One day, Jesus came to visit the city where Zacchaeus lived. Zacchaeus heard the news and wanted to see who Jesus was, because news of Jesus had been spreading all throughout Israel. He couldn't miss this opportunity. But when he got to the place, there was a problem. A big crowd of people had gathered, and Zacchaeus couldn't see over them because he was too short. And so, Zacchaeus had a bright idea. He ran ahead to a place where Jesus would come past and climbed up a sycamore tree so that he'd be able to see. Now, he was the tallest person there. When Jesus came past that place, he looked up at Zacchaeus in the tree and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down. I must stay at your house today." Zacchaeus quickly climbed down the tree and welcomed Jesus to come and stay with him. He was happy to have Jesus come for dinner. But when the people in the crowd saw this, they began to complain. "Jesus is staying with a sinner." Zacchaeus said to Jesus, "I want to do good. I will give half of my money to the poor. And if I have cheated anyone, I will pay them back 4 times as much." Jesus said, "Today is the day for this family to be saved from sin. Yes, even this tax collector is one of God's chosen people. The Son of Man came to find lost people and to save them."
Now, normally at this point in our assembly videos, we'd be asking you to see if you could spot which values stood out to you the most in the story. But this time we're going to do something slightly different because of the kind of character Zacchaeus was. So let's have a look at our values board and see what we didn't see in Zacchaeus. So let's take kindness to begin with. We didn't see a lot of kindness in Zacchaeus, did we, with him lying and cheating people out of their money? That's not a kind thing to do. So it's not kindness for sure. We didn't see a lot of respect. If you respect someone, you want to be honest with them. And he didn't really respect his job either. He used it to kind of line his own pockets and make himself more wealthy. So he wasn't respecting the other people or himself really, which is a really big shame. And then community. Well, we saw Zacchaeus wasn't really part of his community. People didn't trust him, they didn't like him because of the things that he had done, and he wasn't really helping himself with that either by participating in community and respecting and using kindness and all those good things. So I think it's definitely the lack of truthfulness that's the really big issue Zacchaeus had.
Zacchaeus was a rich and important man, but he hadn't come into that through honest means. He'd lied and he'd cheated people out of their money. So what happened was he was getting richer and richer, and the people around him were getting poorer and poorer. Oh dear. It sounds like Zacchaeus had made some bad choices, and he really needed a change.
And that's exactly what Jesus offered to Zacchaeus, that opportunity to make a really big change. He saw Zacchaeus there in the tree and he called him down by name and invited himself over to dinner, which if it happened today we might think that's a little bit irritating, you're just inviting yourself over to my house for dinner. But that's not what was happening here. Instead, Zacchaeus was really happy to have Jesus over. It was an honour for him to host Jesus, because Jesus knew everything about Zacchaeus. Even though they had never met before, Jesus knew all about the bad choices Zacchaeus had made and still wanted to spend time with him, even though the rest of the community wanted nothing to do with him at all.
And from that moment, when he gladly went down the tree to meet Jesus, Zacchaeus did change. Instead of lying and cheating people out of their money, he decided to help the poor of his city, to help everyone out. And for anyone he had hurt with his untruthfulness, he made amends by paying them back 4 times the amount that he'd taken.
So let's take a moment to think about some of the different characters in today's story, and maybe you can see if there are any of them that you felt that you could relate to.
First of all, let's think about Zacchaeus. At the beginning of the story today, Zacchaeus was very rich and important. But do you think he was happy? Do you think his lying and cheating helped him? Or instead, had it affected the relationships he had with others? I wonder whether you relate to Zacchaeus today. Perhaps you've hurt a friendship or broken someone's trust by telling a lie. Maybe you feel like you've fallen into a habit of cheating at games or telling a lie to hide an uncomfortable truth. Zacchaeus had been lying and cheating for years. He might have felt that he had made too many wrong choices to be able to make a change. But Jesus knew him and loved him and wanted to spend time with him. Jesus helped Zacchaeus to make a change, to live with truthfulness again, and to make amends for the things he'd done. It's never too late to make a choice to live with truthfulness, no matter how many mistakes you've made before. Christians believe that Jesus is always able to give us another chance and to help us to change when we need to.
Perhaps instead you relate most to the people in the crowd. Why do you think they were unhappy when Jesus greeted Zacchaeus? Do you think that was right? Zacchaeus had a bad reputation, and his actions had caused the people around him to not want to spend any time with him. So much so that when Jesus came to greet Zacchaeus, the crowds were angry that he wanted to spend time with a tax collector. But it was Jesus' loving acceptance of Zacchaeus that helped him to make the changes that he needed to live honestly again. When we are lied to, it's totally normal to be angry and upset because those actions are wrong. But perhaps today's story can encourage us to give second chances to our friends and to help cheer one another on to make better choices in the future. That doesn't mean that telling lies has no consequences. Zacchaeus knew that he had to make amends by paying back what he had taken and helping those that he had hurt. But it was Jesus' love and acceptance of who he was that gave him the strength to make those changes for the better. Accepting apologies and giving our friends the chance to earn back trust after it has been broken can help us all to grow and to learn from mistakes. And Christians believe that we can always ask Jesus to help us to do that. So let's take a moment to talk to Jesus in prayer, and why not reflect on the story you heard today while we do that? Lord Jesus, thank you that you always give us the opportunity to make changes when we have made wrong choices. Thank you that you loved and accepted Zacchaeus and helped him to make the change that he needed. Please help us to encourage one another to be truthful and help one another when we find that hard. Amen.